Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Shirley Talk. I'm Mike Mulroney.
I'm Kellye Duckworth.
Kellye, I don't know that we need this today because we're not going to talk much about medical things, but are you an attorney? How about that?
Nope.
Nothing?
Nope.
Doctor, EMT?
Nope.
All right. So we do that because as we talk, we do this for educational and entertainment purposes only. And if you hear us say something, we like to think we're right. Mm-hmm. But we might not be. So please, if you hear us say something, get professional advice from your tax person, your attorney, or whoever. So anyway, but our guests today, David and Julie Kennedy, how you doing?
Hi. Doing well.
Yeah, you all have a phenomenal coffee shop called Stomping Grounds, and we thought we would talk today a little bit about what possessed you to open a coffee shop? I mean, and then we saw the article yesterday. I read it on the Courier Journal, so that was interesting timing. Did they approach you about a story, or how did that work out?
Oh, sorry, that's me.
You do that because no one approached me about anything.
A journalist reached out to me through Facebook Messenger on Stomping Grounds.
Well, good.
She asked me if I would be willing to sit down and talk about how COVID has affected my business.
Has it?
So, it has. It definitely has. She said, well, I was under the assumption it was just going to be about kind of COVID. And when she got out to the shop, it was, tell me your story. And I was like, oh, I'm not really prepared to tell you my story. So I did the best I could.
Yeah.
With, the surprise. And
Well, yeah.
got through it.
I learned something about the business, and we'll talk about that in a second. But have you always been into coffee? Has that always been your thing?
I have been into coffee since I was really little. My grandparents would give me the gross part of the coffee with, probably like all their saliva at the bottom.
And all the sugar in the bottom?
Yeah, but it was amazing.
Yeah,
I'd get like that much. And I'd say it was coffee. It was more like sugar. I don't know. It was like the really pretty khaki color, you know? And so I would get that when I was a kid, and I just loved it from the start. And my grandmother used to chew some kind of odd chewing gum that tastes like coffee. So I've loved coffee my whole life. And David actually did not like coffee. He joined the service, and I was the coffee drinker, and he would never indulge. He just wouldn't.
Marine Corps coffee is not Stomping Grounds coffee.
Just solid black, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
you
they
got
even
me
give you
there.
anything?
It's sludge.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that about your grandma. I stayed over I had two grandmas. One we called Other Granny. That was my mom. We'd always call her, hey, we're going to Other Granny's. And she didn't drink coffee, but my dad's mom, they did. And we didn't stay over there much, but the few times we did, I remember the coffee. And she let us drink it, and we would put like 8 scoops of sugar in it. And like you said, looked like brown. It was brown, but it was really good because it was sweet. But that was back in the day when people typically drank coffee black. Now there's all kinds of flavors and sugars. And Kellye, how many sugars do you put in your coffee?
Well, I was going to say, David, you probably don't remember this, but one time I came into Stomping Grounds, it was actually one of the first times that I tried it. And I always get an iced vanilla, like caramel thing. And I literally poured half of the sugar little bottle thing into the coffee. And you were like, you can get like extra syrup or something. Like,
extra
you don't
for
have
that.
to. And I was like,
Yeah,
so then that's what I've been doing. Then I'll get like extra syrup in there. So it's sweeter, but I don't have to
remember
use
that.
half of the sugar.
Yeah.
To keep from doing that, just add some vanilla.
Yeah,
It's gonna
that's what.
sweeten it.
Yeah,
So that's what I
definitely
do.
charge for that. It's like getting a handful of ketchup and you're not going to use
I
it.
know. I just like a little bit of coffee with my cream and sugar.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I asked my wife if she ever wants coffee with her sugar water. So
Yeah.
So you decided to open a coffee shop. How in the world did that come about? And I read the article, so I kind of know, but I just want to talk about how you did that.
So I stayed at home we have 6 children.
Okay,
We have 5 together. And
we
then-
got 3. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. We have 5 together, and then we adopted one when David was in youth ministry. I guess middle school was when
We
he
met
came
him in
to-
8th grade. He ended up moving in with us.
Yeah. So we had
our
6
our
kids.
2 younger kids don't really know life without him.
Yeah.
So,
So-
Maddie was 2 when he came into our life, and Sophia was yet to be born.
There's very few people that would do that. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Well, he really was used to help change us a little bit. You know what I mean? So it really wasn't like we really honestly don't look at it like, oh, we did this great thing for him. Because we learned a lot by him coming into our life. And so I think that helped grow us and mature us and learn to love on a whole nother level, because it's different. I mean, when you have children, I remember being there when my son was born, and I'm like, I could give up my life for him right now. And most of us wouldn't think of that with another person that's not our children,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so he honestly just helped show us some things. We learned some things. There's things in his life that we weren't, that I wasn't accustomed to. And so, we feel like we know what we would do if we crossed this bridge. But even with him, we crossed some bridges early that we, before we crossed them with our own children, because he was older than they are.
Oh yeah.
So, it was an interesting thing.
Yeah. So we took him in. So they gave us 6. We had we were living in a parsonage. I don't know if they still call those parsonages now. Like when you're in the ministry, in certain denominations, you get what's called a parsonage, is like a home that a church owns, and that's usually a part of your package. And so we ended up moving into that, and we had 6 kids and 1 bathroom.
I say they all have a bedroom,
chaos.
or you put.
It was chaos.
They make
chaos.
3-layer
was
bunks
chaos.
now. Did you have them all the way to the top?
We actually had so at this point we didn't stay there very long, and we moved back to Valley Village. I was raised in Valley Village, so we moved right beside Watson Lane. Really nice home. But you know how the old school homes are kind of stacked. And so we had 2 kids per room. So there was 3 rooms, but we made like the sunroom a bedroom. The boys hated it. So we only have 1 boy between us. And then the kid that we took in was a boy as well. And so we put them kind of in the sunroom. And then
it was finished though.
Oh, it was finished, but it was weird.
A room with a screen window. And
it was
just go
it
live
was
in
just
there.
really
It was
really weird.
Yeah.
And we were
I think
really
sounds pretty cool.
Right? Yeah, it's like Julie's basically like, we had a shed in the back. So
I think we were at our happiest then, because like we were just all stuck in this small place, and I don't know that.
So you were doing COVID before COVID was real.
Yes, it was intense because I stayed at home, so
We were
I
extra
didn't
poor.
currently work
So-
outside of the house. So, but so that was that. We had 6 kids, and life was really tight on a a youth pastor salary, and we had talked about wanting to move in a really small community and opening up a small business. It was more David's idea to open up a small business. He was like, I want that Leave It to Beaver feel, I want to be able to let the kids just run down to so-and-so's house like we did when we were kids. And now you got to
walk outside and not worry about getting kidnapped. Yeah.
And now it's almost like you've got to vet kids and their parents before you allow them to go
Make
to
sure
people's
they're not
homes,
Crazy, yeah.
And so that was kind of our dream. And we had knocked around certain things that we were, interested individually, and so we just knocked it around, threw it away, and knocked it around, threw it away.
about a year.
Yeah, and then when we moved out to Beachmont, we kind of, with ministry, it's a very, it could be, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but it can be a very I don't know if daunting is the word I'm going to use. It's just very hard sometimes.
It'd be very
because
stressful.
It can be, especially when you are really living life with people. And we were at a point where we were with church folks a lot. And that comes with its own set of challenges. It's not, because people are human, right? So we moved out to Beachmont, and we loved being out there. We love Beachmont because we love the diversity. We're very that's our thing. And so we moved out there, and we'd been patrons of Goss Coffee since the beginning, since they opened on Preston Street.
Are they a wholesaler?
They're
They're a
both.
roaster.
Okay.
So they are a wholesaler, but they have
several
multiple
shops
around the city.
Is
Yeah,
there-
because when I read that, I didn't understand what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So I that's one. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, so Goss so they roast here locally on Woodlawn Avenue, but their very first shop, they started out, on Preston Street. So I think they have I'm pretty sure they have 5, 4 or 5 locations. Anyway, that was their passion, was to roast beans and stuff, and very good Christian men, the 2 of them. And so we kind of developed some relationships with some of their baristas out there, and we kicked that around. Maybe we'll open a coffee shop. And David started really getting into coffee because he took our youth group to Goss on Preston Street all the time. So we would go out there, and then it became our thing where we would. Our children got older, and we were always suffocated with kids, as you can imagine. And so our oldest daughter, we would tell her, okay, so you get one day, it's a Friday or Saturday, to hang with your friends, but your dad and I we have to escape, at least for an hour or 2. And so rummy is our thing. We love to go to breweries and play rummy and drink a beer or two and just have a good time. And so we started what we call it's kind of corny to a lot of other people, our never-ending rummy game. And we've been doing it for years. We keep score, but we don't end the game until one of us passes, which is corny.
Passes or passes out?
Like passes.
So
you know what I mean?
the thing is, she's not going to get to see me gloat if she goes.
That's it. That's exactly it.
You know,
I'll probably say that.
You can tell that a couple is truly in love when they survive a rummy game without getting in a fight. I mean, so you've been doing that how many years?
Oh my gosh, it's been years. It's been years.
Maybe you're still married.
12 or 13 years.
Maybe.
And so getting at that was like the coffee shop every Saturday morning was a rhythm of ours. And so through the conversation, really what led to that was I think we just want to help people have a good experience, you know, to where they can come and they can sit down without going to a restaurant. You know, it's great to go out to eat with people, but just be able to go and spend $10 and sit. And then when you see the same regular people it's their Saturday morning as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're relational people. We're very relational people. And we love hospitality.
I'd
so
say
all
you
this
probably
fits in our
know.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'd say you probably know most of your customers by name, right?
Oh yeah,
I would
yeah.
say so.
So do our people. We've become friends with many of them. So many customers have been to our house. You know,
We
it's
planted a
just,
church with some of them. That's an interesting to talk about.
It's
but
really
it's interesting.
I think this was
sure.
our wheelhouse. I think we were just wired for this, and so we've had some people that believed in us and said, hey, we really think that this is what you need to do. So for us, it's Stomping Grounds is really not a business; it's a calling.
Yeah,
we look at it like that.
But
And
we
so,
don't tell people that because I remember, so we got to the thing, we're going to open a coffee shop. We met with the appropriate people downtown. Like we met with Scott Love and was talking about, hey, tell me what we need to do. And so we had this really long meeting and he was kind of giving us the information on it. And then I remember walking away and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that.
It's
we'll
a
get
lot.
divorced.
Yes.
I'll go to jail for murder.
Yeah.
We're not doing this. And so we shelved it for a whole year. We didn't even really talk about it. And then we started talking about it again. And true story. I have to leave there was, maybe one or two
bombs
that came out of it. So one afternoon, David said he had to go take care of something, and he went and met with our best friend, who's also our accountant, Greg Greenwood. Wonderful, great man. Anyway, they went and had a meeting, and I thought it was, okay, it's just church stuff. We've been in ministry with them for almost, I guess, about 17 years or so. So he comes home and he has this envelope in his hand, and I'm usually cold by nature, and I'm in the old houses, you got those floor vents that pop up all that air, and I'm sitting on there, and I'm like, had a really rough day, and he comes in the door and he says, get ready, we're going to go celebrate. And I'm like, what is that in your hand? He's like, get ready, we're going to go celebrate. I'm like, what are we going to go celebrate? He was like, the fact that you're a business owner as of today, baby. And I'm like, what? What are you talking? Like, I thought he was playing a prank on me. So he opens up the paperwork, and out falls this official paperwork from the, the state. And I mean, I was like hot flashing, and like, what did you do? And I can't say the things that come out of my mouth because they're not very nice. And, I was kind of upset. I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I get it. So you're throwing me out here because I'm a business, a female, and you want, like, I'm going to get all these female business breaks. Oh, is that what you want me for? I was like mad, and he was like, no, this is something that I see in you. You love coffee, you love community. Even though you're an introvert, you love creating. That's my thing. I love creating environments for people to have a good time. And he said, I think if you were never going to push yourself because you don't believe in yourself, and I believe in you. And so this is a way for me to push you out the door, and you can't go back. I mean, it's like official. So,
and so it wasn't an us thing, so it was like, this is going to be Julie. She's sole proprietor. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and I will help her, but this is it. And honestly, I know we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I didn't want to, I wanted Julie to have something because we got together at a very young age. We were 18 and 20 with a kid, and we were 800 miles away with no family. And then, not even a year later, our son's born. So we're cranking out kids. It's and Julie just took care of the home and the family for all these years. And there's things that she didn't get to do, and And so I noticed there was dreams of Julie. So this wasn't just me projecting my vision for her life onto her, but I know that Julie wanted to contribute more than just cleaning the kitchen, making sure the laundry's done, which those are very noble tasks. If you're a woman who takes care of your home, I mean, that's noble. But I could tell that there was something in her that she wanted to do. And so if she wanted to do that, I didn't want her to be in my shadows. She served me for our whole marriage. And so I wanted her to have something. And hopefully I don't have to be too involved with it, to where she's running the show. And she's completely running the show. Like, I don't even know from day to day, hey, who's coming in today? Like, I don't know the schedule. I don't know what's going on most of the time.
You definitely have to know your partner, because when I started a nonprofit, I told my wife, she said, "Are you crazy?" and just went off. And but she's accepting it now. But you were aggravated, obviously, at first, because you're like, "What have you done?"
She was nervous.
Yeah, of course.
I'm really introverted, so I just the
I am
thought
too,
of.
believe it or not.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's funny.
There's high functioning.
I think that might be
introversion. You can get out there in the community and mix it up and talk, but you probably have those moments where, at the end of the day, you just got to go home and shut the door and no one speak to me right now.
Yeah, it gets overwhelming sometimes, but I have it's not about me, but just real quick, I got some anxiety that sometimes before events, I just don't want to go.
Yeah.
I start making up all these things in my head, and I'm like, man, and once I'm there, I'm fine. But it's a struggle.
It's
so I know what you mean.
It's a lot of pressure for you. Have such a big responsibility, and I think that's where I am in life too, where it's like, it's not just about me making a cup of coffee and sliding it across the bar. I'm a person who has to have meaning, whatever I'm doing. Like, I want to find the deeper meaning of cleaning the sink. Like, I'm really that lame.
Yeah.
And so when I'm at my shop, it's how I'm. A lot of times, like, these people come in, we're the first person that they see in the morning. So, like, we can help make or break their day, right? So I'm worried about being kind, compassionate. I'm worried about my employees because I know things that are going on there. I want to bring home the bacon. COVID didn't kill us. We actually grew, which is kind of strange, but we're still at this point where I feel like we're almost reaching our ceiling, and there's only so much we could do without taking on so much debt. And I don't want to be an irresponsible business owner. I don't want to be an irresponsible mother or a wife and take on all this debt because I think, here, the sky's the limit. I'm going for it. So I'm trying to just find this happy medium where I am in my life with all these responsibilities that just pile on you. It's very overwhelming. So I could see that when you have a lot of responsibilities.
It does. And as a business owner, you're responsible for everything. So when you first opened your coffee, when we started as a nonprofit, I didn't know what a 501c3 was. Didn't have a clue. Didn't know how to raise money, and we still don't. We do pretty good, but starting a coffee shop. Did you know what to go buy? Did you already look up equipment that you might need? Did you know how to retrofit the building to run a coffee shop? How do you just jump into that and be successful with it?
So, for us,
I wouldn't know what kind of. I'd brew coffee and pour it out of a cup and hand it to somebody. I wouldn't know how to make that stuff.
I know this is going to be sounding really weird, and I don't want to be offensive to people that may not believe it the way that we believe, but we are very faith-filled people, and we really just prayed a lot. And the whole prayer was like, Lord, if you would see it fit to put these people in our path to help us, because we have literally, I stayed up for a week after that envelope was dropped on me. I don't think I enjoyed our evening that night. I probably dropped a lot of F-bombs because that's kind of my style.
Yeah.
And, there was a lot of stress there. And I just remember, I'd get this phone call and it's, hey, I'm so-and-so from such and such place. And I'm like, oh, well, you're exactly who I need to talk to. And, I can't tell you how many anxiety attacks I've had, and I don't want to make it about me, but it's a reality probably for a lot of business owners, especially if you're introverted and you're having to kind of get out there and, seek and find what you got to do to make your business grow. And so that was a big thing for me. We just prayed, and people just started coming, and and then David would have this inkling, to say, "Oh, well, I'm going to call," and then they would be like, "Who? I'm going to let you."
Yeah, it was really weird. Some things just really, I think, fell into place for us. We knew that we wanted to go, as we talked about it. Like, how are we going to do this? What is your responsibility going to be? What is mine going to be? And Julie immediately was like, Sundergass is going to roast for us. So we need to talk to them about having them. What would it be like for them to be our roaster? And so I've known Matthew for a while. We're not really good friends, but we know each other. And I remember when I told him, he's one of the owners. And when I told him about it, he was like, hey, if you're really serious about it, come see us. I'm like, no, bro, we're doing this. Like, my wife's got the paperwork. She already owns the business. We're going somewhere. And we've already been contacted by another roaster. I guess I don't know how they found out, but
I don't know.
Anyway,
is there a roasting website
so,
somewhere?
we're going to give some huge like kudos to Matthew. He hit me up one day and said, hey, before you sign any paperwork, before you do anything, I want to sit down with you and Julie. Bring me your lease.
He
awesome. Has nothing to do with the building. He just wants to sell us coffee. But he sat down with us on his time. He's running a huge business. And he sat down with a 17-page lease.
Yeah, I think it was about that.
It was about 17 pages. And an apple. And he just sat there with glasses in his apple, and he read every page and red inked everything.
Yeah. Ask about this. No, take this back. Yeah. It was great.
He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And he did that, and I know that he knows that we were regular patrons. But for him, it was more than just, hey, you spend money for my service. It went beyond that.
But you remember that.
I remember that.
And
so that solidified, as what Julie said, I know we picked the right person.
Yeah.
And it was great.
In today's world, it's really gotten greedy. And most people wouldn't take the time to sit down because, if you think about it, it did benefit him. But to sit down with you to make sure you're going to be successful.
Yes.
But so many people wouldn't take the time out of their day to do that because they don't look at it as, well, I'm not getting paid for this. Why should I do it? And it's an interesting world that we live in. So, but that's good of him.
It was really good. They were very fundamental in helping. So if you choose, because Sundergass just doesn't roast for anyone. They're very particular as well. If you want them to be your roaster and they agree, we don't have any like contractual right. There's nothing. There's just out of good, honest, faith. Let's shake hands. You're going to choose us. We're going to roast for you, that kind of thing. But they have a program, or at least they did back then. I can't speak for it now because this was 2015. So they have the program like where you would train on site there at the Preston Street location, and they're one of their like veteran baristas, and they're excellent baristas. They know, like, I don't know how familiar you all are with Sundergass, but Sundergass has won like best espresso like years in a row. They're like out of the country. They're really good.
Are they a national chain?
No,
they're not national.
I've seen the name, but I've never really paid attention.
No, they're just two local guys who started it, and so inside the Special Coffee Association of America, there's like coffee fests around the country in major cities, Atlanta, New York.
I didn't know that.
Seattle, St. Louis, those type cities. And when there's competitions, they've won multiple competitions with other, small, independent coffee shops. Because, people are into that. Coffee chains have their place, but most people that really want to get into coffee, there is a niche market for people that want to be coffee snobs. And so they are they are very respected within the SCA. So people that, there's people that follow certain companies' Instagrams, they order online to get their coffee and, to have their beans mailed to them. So they're those type of people, but just to know that someone who has a successful company takes their time out to read another person's lease.
Means
so
a
that
lot.
Talks a lot about their character. So we knew that we had a good start. And so they provided Julie and the team with some training. And so we learned a lot through the process. And then it was like, okay, you guys need to just roll with it. And then honestly, it came down to, we need more training. And Julie's like, we're running out of money. So
we're going to work.
We got to open. So we did the build out, almost all the build out of the shop, ourselves. So Julie learned how to work a skill saw, and it was
the only thing we
awesome.
didn't do was the plumbing and the electrical, which was another thing. A friend that David grew up with.
But two local people did it. So.
Yeah, two local people.
Valley Station people.
You got to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But no, so David, had a really close friend. That was the thing. We were what are we going to do about this electrical work? You know, we didn't take out any loans. We had cash on hand to start the business. And I was like, we're running out of money. We've only got X amount of dollars in there. What are we going to do? And it was the neatest thing. Like, these people just show up. And we had a really close friend of David say, look, you know, I'll put in the electrical work, buy all what I need. And, you know, I'm trying to pay the guy. And he was like, no, I want to bless you all. I want this for you all. Like, this is going to be good for the community. You know, a lot of people didn't know our story, and still a lot of people don't know our story. I think we purposely try to not withhold it. We're not ashamed that we're believers, but it's you know, some people don't want to go to, well, let's take, for example, Vibe Coffee in Elizabethtown. Great coffee. They use Center Goss as their beans as well. I remember a couple of years ago, one of my customers came in. They were really upset that people were trying to picket them because they have like some Jesus shirts and listen to Christian music, and they didn't like it. And they were literally like, was giving them, you know, crap over it. So some people don't want to necessarily go in if they don't believe the same way that you believe. But we're firm believers of, you know, not to be cheesy, but they'll know, you know, there's an old saying and even a hymn, you know, kind of goes, they'll know you're a Christian by your love. And that's not to say we don't drop the ball, because I have a mouth on me.
Well, you know,
you
what
know,
you
so
said,
I don't know.
Yeah, what you said has got to change. You know, if somebody doesn't believe in Jesus and they don't want to follow that path, why do they care that you do?
I don't know.
I don't understand the mentality of, you don't believe what I believe, I'm going to boycott you and get you fired.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
getting
it happens.
ridiculous.
Well,
It is.
there-
It
there is-
happens
It
quite
is
some
often.
of that.
absolutely ridiculous.
There is some of that. There is a lot of people that they will, you know, say they want unity, or they want people to you know, tolerance is the big word.
No, they
right?
want they want
So,
you to believe in them.
well,
what they say.
you know, they want you to be tolerant of them, but they will be intolerant
exactly
of you.
right,
But
yeah.
so there is some of that. But in some of the, to defend some of those people, it's really not that they're just mad that you think differently. There is a way that folks who are maybe even well-intentioned, but let's face it, we all know some really rude Christians. And
Yeah.
I remember sitting outside of a bonfire with some friends at their house, and these aren't church-going folks, and they just said, you know, some of the meanest people I know are Christians. And so we kind of had that conversation about how we're all just kind of messed up people. And so I think there's just the idea that maybe someone is trying to, you know, overly shove something down my throat, you know, or just
Yeah.
be so intense about it. It's almost becomes pushy. And you know, we know there's some well-intentioned people, but sometimes they're salesmen, you know, and honestly, sometimes there's church-going folks, and it's probably from people's family, you know, that maybe they didn't really play well with people who didn't believe the way they do. And it really just comes down to loving people.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, one of the other owners of Center Goss knows my background. And so I was in the office one day over in their wholesale office. And he said, hey, I have a quick question for you. Is Stomping Grounds going to be a Christian coffee shop? And I'm like, no, we're just going to be a coffee shop that sells coffee. And Julie's a Christian, I'm a Christian, but we're going to work it all the time, but it's not going to be a Christian coffee shop. And he said, okay, good.
And he's a believer.
I don't want you, you know, because you guys, if you do that, that's fine on you. But there's going to be a lot of people, if you're not, you know, you're not Christian enough. And we get that. We get that we're not Christian enough sometimes. But man, we're inclusive, and I think that's what's the beauty of what's going on at Stomping Grounds. At Stomping Grounds, you've been in there, Mike, enough times. You've been there. It is a reflection of Valley Station, and I think ultimately I feel like Stomping Grounds is the watering hole for Valley Station and PRP. The people just come and they sit and they talk. You know, if I have to hear one more time about why we need a drive-through,
I was going to bring that up.
drive-throughs are cool, but we very desperately our community needs a dining room.
Yep.
Yeah.
We need a space where folks can come in, and you know, there's great small businesses in our area. I mean, Christie's is killing it. You know, you can't squeeze a fart in that place. You know, try to get a table on Sunday morning. Good luck.
Yeah.
But there's other restaurants that are really doing really well. But sometimes people don't want to go to a restaurant and spend $25. Some people just want to go and spend $5 and get a drip cup of coffee and have some very meaningful conversation. Yeah. And so that's kind of like and so for us, it doesn't matter what your background is, what your views are. We're going to love you regardless, and we're going to care about you. I mean, the employees, I don't really like saying the word employees, by the way. Our team members, like, don't even all have the same perspective
And
that we
that's
do on
good.
life. And I love
good.
that. I love that.
I'm just tired of people having an opinion and then mad at you because you have a differing opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's
if you're
ridiculous.
Christian, great. I'm a firm believer that if Jesus was still walking the earth, he would sit right here and probably drink a beer with us, drink a coffee with us, have a glass of wine, and be chill.
Yeah,
and I really feel
absolutely.
that way.
Yes.
But for us to
I would
just
love,
really
by the way,
treat people
I would
that
love to sit and have a beer with Jesus.
I would too. I think it'd be awesome, but I think he'd be open to it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
but you got these people. I grew up Catholic, but you got these people that you drink, you're not godly. Well, how come it's fair? It's right for the Catholics to drink and not the Christians? Are we not reading from the same Bible?
Right.
But I'm sick and tired of people forcing their beliefs on people. It's okay to have different beliefs and different opinions. That's why we're here.
Right.
But yeah, you need to make that your marketing pitch of. We chose not to have a drive-through because we want people to sit and congregate and enjoy one another.
That was one of our posts. What was it?
I was
Maybe
gonna say
2
it was
months
a
ago.
big post.
It was a big post. We had it was one of our Saturdays, and the back room that we have was full of people. And every Saturday morning, there's a big group of ladies that come from Crunch Fitness. They'll come down about 10:45
awesome.
on the money
Yeah.
every Saturday morning. They work out together, and they come in. They have coffee, and they sit together. And the shop was just
You know where
like it is
Crunch
every
Fitness is at, right?
Saturday. Yes.
Yeah. There's a major chain in their parking lot, and they go out of their way to come down there to you guys. That says a lot.
Correct. They
It
love,
really
they
does.
love the
It
shop.
says a
They
lot.
love our people
Yeah.
that work there. And so they pulled some tables from the dining room together. And I think there's about 12 or 15 of them. And so I wrote a post. I said, this is why we need a dining room.
Absolutely.
And they wouldn't have that. And the same thing with COVID. I mean, when people think of their intentions are good, hey, you guys need a drive-through, they're thinking that so we can make a lot of money. Well, man, for us,
They
it's
don't want to
more
get
than
out of their car.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it is okay to get out of the car and go and do that. So and really, it might be quicker if you
I
just
was
get
gonna
out and
say,
go
honestly,
in.
I think
Sometimes
it's
quicker.
faster to just get out of
is.
your car and walk
It
in and
is.
order.
For me, I'm just like, sometimes you go through the drive-thru now with COVID. I don't know if you all experience this, but I'll go through the drive-thru for my girls. And then you get your food, and if you're in a rush, you don't check, and then you get all the way home, and then the lobby's not open, so you got to go back through the
man.
drive-thru. That is
Yeah.
so annoying. So now I hate to be that person, but if we go through a Taco Bell, like David stops and he's checking like each individual thing, and people
I
behind
don't,
him are like
yeah.
giving him the eyeball.
If you're missing a soft
It's like,
taco, bro,
well,
you're
I mean,
stuck. You know
you're
what I mean? Like you're not
stuck,
going
you know?
back.
I'm not a drive-through guy.
Yeah,
if I'm
I'm
hungry,
typically not.
If I'm hungry, I want to go in, sit down, and eat and be done with it. If it's in my car, I'm going to be eating it on the way out of my car, and I'm probably going to have a wreck because I'm digging through the bag, eating the fries.
Right.
And by the time I get home, they're not there anyway. So,
Right.
you need to really make that your marketing and storyline. Is we want people to congregate and learn about one another. You ought to put a table in there that says, come with a different opinion and let's discuss it. You make sure you got an officer on duty that
Oh
day.
man, we've had
But you
some
don't think about
discussions
that.
in there. That's one thing you don't talk. Well, I think it goes almost across the board.
So what
like
happens at Stomping
religion
Grounds stays in
and-
Stomping
oh.
Grounds? Is that what you're saying?
It's it's
Listen.
wild. We literally are like bartenders.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so much so,
We just
like,
don't serve
yeah.
alcohol. Like we hear, and I know a lot of it is, and the reason why this happens is because people are so comfortable.
They are, and
And-
I think they're passionate, and I think that when you have Stomping Grounds, kind of serves, in my opinion, as a place, like a safe place for you to come if you want to talk about that stuff.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I love most is that I talk. If you see me in Stomping Grounds, you would really probably be like, she's really not introverted. But when I leave, I don't talk very much. I'm a little loud on social media because I feel it's a safe way for me to be loud because I'm not doing this. And I like to write my feelings and things that are, that I'm contemplating. I won't tell you that face to face unless I'm very comfortable with you or I know you, right? And so Stomping Grounds, I even have to sit back because sometimes I just stand in awe and not sound like some cheesy way, but like our community in action. Because like if you come in Stomping Grounds like early in the morning, you're going to get your same 10 to 12 people that come in like daily.
First thing.
Sometimes I think these people don't really have the money to spend. They just love us and don't want us to go under, so they're there. Plus, they love their community, right?
Yeah.
And so they sit on this bench over to the left, and then there's some people in the back, and they're just going at it. And there's one day, not too long ago, one of our very regular customers, they were talking politics, and I was like, oh, no, here we go. Because I try not to talk
not gonna go
politics
good. Yeah.
over the bar.
Be
And
intense.
I know who I can talk to about certain things, but even then, when I get excited, my voice tends to
too.
kind of carry off.
Yeah,
And so you got to be careful because somebody could take a snippet of what you've said, and then all of a sudden, oh, she said X, Y, and Z. Well, wait. It's kind of like reading the Bible. You didn't go up a few verses, ma'am, or you didn't go down a little. You know what I mean?
Take it way out of context.
So yeah,
That's what's
we've had
caused
some
a
stuff.
lot of the problems in this world is people clip snippets of stuff and make it sound completely way off what they
I
even were
agree,
saying anyway.
for sure.
So you got a strong conversation in the coffee
Yep,
shop.
we've had that, and I mean, it was really one of those. It was just a very intense day where we left, and I was like, oh gosh, you know, who's going to call and complain? They're going to put and I love I'm Dixie Highway. They've been very good to us. The people that moderate have been very good to Stomping Grounds, and you know, us personally letting us put our stuff in there. But some of the people, and this is not a knock, because I have a genuine like for people. But sometimes if you notice, if you get on there and you put something on there, I mean, it's going to go one of two ways.
Yeah.
It
You
happened
know,
the
and
other
it gets
day.
scary.
Well, yeah,
And I don't
you
want to.
set that up on a tee for Mike, because one thing I like about Mike is a savage on there sometimes. With
Really?
people,
Well, I'm just honest with
and I mean
people.
that
I'm
in a
not
good
gonna
way. I mean that in a
back
good way.
people. Yeah.
There's one thing that there's just a way of going about it. If you dislike something or you disagree with something, to have some tact or to say I'm expressing your opinion, but to bash someone on their personal level and just say something very crude and ugly that you wouldn't like if someone said that about you. Hey, if you don't particularly like a plate of food that you got at a restaurant,
I was waiting for that one.
Right, and then to go in there and just say something ugly.
Yeah.
I love that, Mike. Just the other day when you said that, you were like,
I did.
First of all, what you fail to realize is you just trash someone's
Yeah.
family, their
Livelihood,
life,
yeah.
and what they're doing,
Yeah.
and even to the point where someone might be like, oh gosh, I'm never going to give those people a chance. And
Exactly
maybe
right.
they had, and we've had this discussion over and over again. You go sit down at a restaurant and your service isn't that great, and man, I mean, come on, man. She's like super slow. I had to ask for a refill twice or whatever it is. We're not going to stiff her on a tip, man. I mean, we're still going to tip well because we understand maybe she's having a bad day. Maybe, I feel like we're listeners. We listen with our eyes a lot, and you can kind of see. You kind of see when someone's having a bad day.
Yep.
Maybe over here talking about the issue she was having with her kids, and all of a sudden she's just stressed out, so she overlooked the tea. You know what I mean? And so tip well. You don't have to bash people. So it's been good. I'm Dixie's been good for us, but hopefully it's just that we're. Greg Greenwood put it the perfect. She's mentioned Greg a minute ago. When people had mentioned the drive-through and other coffee shops coming in on our turf, so to speak, and he said, those are other businesses. What y'all need to understand is people go to those places for transactions. If you want a transaction, go through the drive-through. If you want a relationship, go to Stomping Grounds.
That's a great way.
And so I thought, man, he kind of helps remind us of that. So that's kind of like a vision statement without having an official vision statement that we just try to go in every day that, hey, yes, we're here to make a living, but at the same time, we're not going to sacrifice that conversation. We're not going to miss it, So
I get real defensive about small businesses, and it goes through me so fast, and I've got to stop scrolling through social media because it really does piss me off sometimes. But and I think I know the one you're talking about, but I get real defensive with people who are trying to do their best. And I've never been a fighting man in my life, to be honest. I'm big, and I guess people see me as a threat, but I'm sick and tired of people trashing others that are trying to do so good. That girl, she claims she didn't say anything bad. I said, but you said their food sucks. Where in the world do you think that doesn't sound bad? And she backed off and said she'd be willing to go try them again sometime. But you can't have that strong of opinion, especially with a small business. People bitch about, I'm not going to say names, but certain drive-thrus all the time, but yet they keep going back. Yeah. So why do you keep going back to a national chain that does a horrible job, but you're going to throw a local business under the bus in about 5 seconds and say you'll never go back?
And that's true.
I mean,
that's
it's
true.
sad. It really is. So.
And the other business that you're throwing under the bus doesn't have the resources. They don't have the money. They don't. They're struggling just to even make it.
But
so
they're
the fact
good-hearted
right.
people. I'm going to get them on here one day. But she told me, and she said we feed the homeless all the time. And I said, That's awesome, you know? And I'm not saying get out there and brag about that, but if you
Right.
don't nonchalantly let people know a little bit about what you do, you know, they in today's world, people want to know the good you're doing.
Yes.
And you have to be able to let that out without sounding like you're bragging. But
And that's hard.
It is.
It's really hard.
It is.
I was just telling David yesterday when that post came out, a friend of mine shared it on there and was like, you know, this is really good to see this article about my friend. And, you know, I did geek out a little bit. I have really poor self-esteem, so I have a hard time accepting wins. And I struggle with some, you know, mental health that I'm a little more vocal about because I'm at this place in my life that I'm able to be vocal without crumbling into some crybaby
You're
ball.
embracing it more now than
I am. I'm embracing it. It was a lot of therapy to get me there. But so anyway, I told David, I said, you know, when I come across it was on Yahoo. I mean, and it's not even that it's a. So I'm not a like I live very modestly. I'm not. I think if I were the person that got $1 million, I'm not saying this in like a humble brag, but I'm positive that I know I would do some good with it. I'm not that person that has to live a certain way, that wears things certain ways, drives certain cars. I'm just, you know, I just want to exist in a very peaceful life with my family and like.
be able to take a vacation every now and then.
That would be great. That would be so
know,
great.
that's
That'd be
what I
great.
tell
Nothing
people.
crazy.
So
Nothing crazy.
yesterday I wanted to post it, and I told him, I said, I'm really nervous about posting this. And he said, why are you nervous about posting it? I said, you know, because some people, and I get it. I think you have to really know the person, but I guess when you're talking about like it's okay to let people know, you got to be careful in the way you do it because there's always going to be that one or two people. Which why do we give them so much power over us? But there's always going to be that one or two people that are going to be like, oh, so she thinks she's hot crap because her stuff was on Yahoo News Local. When it's not really that I want to tell about that. It's like, if you knew my story and there's not enough time to tell it, and I wouldn't like dare take you down that road. But like if you knew my story, I'm an underdog. I love the underdog.
I do
And
too.
I have a very underdog story, and I wasn't set up for success. I don't have a college degree. Not that there's anything wrong with being at home with your children, because I think if I could do that and not have to work, I would do that because it's the best job I've ever had. It's the most important job I'll ever have. But
Takes a lot of patience.
She didn't sound like it this morning when she was sweeping the floor. That's
right.
Like
no, I was
literally.
ticked.
she
I was
did not.
ticked. I get tired of
you
sweeping that
gotta
floor.
get comfortable.
But there's haters out there.
You got
You
no,
do.
exactly. But
You gotta get
there's
comfortable
trolls. They're
talking
not
about
really haters. They're trolls. There's some people out there that had nothing better to do that would stand there and scroll through and make nasty comments.
Yes.
So how do you combat
And
that?
it
Mike?
happens
Me,
quite often.
I'm very confrontational.
So how do we like? How would you encourage the Southwest, like without me turning into the moderator? But since we're having a discussion, like, how do we collectively as a community turn that page? Because I think it really is a culture issue, right? For the Southwest, this, you know, the whole Chavley, PRP, Valley Station corridor, like for us to build a culture of goodness in our community. You know, Julie needs to be comfortable as a business owner of just sharing a win. Because it feels good. You know, everybody wants that. When you work hard, you want your boss to say you did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I typically don't have, I mean, I do. I have like one or two people in my life that are very good about, actually, they're not even really pat me on their back. They're like, you've got to stay in this fight.
Yeah.
You can't quit. You can't quit. Because there's been many times that I'm just like, I'm just done. I'm tired of paying our bills on the brown. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of cleaning toilets and writing checks. Like, I don't want to clean the toilet this week. I'm tired of it. Like, you know, I'm not going to lie. I would be a liar to say I didn't have my moments where it's like, daggone, I'm supposed to be the boss. Give me a leg up, you know? So I've had those moments, but I'm not too good to where I can't do that. But it is hard to find that group of people that are truly cheering for you. You know, I mean, collectively, I have people that are cheering for us, but I don't even think some of them are cheering for us together, but there's a big group that are cheering for Stomping Grounds because they want to keep Stomping Grounds the way that it is because it's their place too.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend not too long ago, about a year and a half ago, I was seriously thinking about selling Stomping Grounds.
Yeah.
I want it out. You know, I battle seasonal depression. I already have depression, but I battle it really bad in the winter. And I told David, I said, I'm just done. I'm done. I work myself to the bone. I don't feel like I'm appreciated. My kids, I come in the door, the kids are like, take off your clothes. You stink like coffee. And, can you go get me $20 out of the register? I'm like, I just had this season where I'm just like, I'm done, dude. I can't do this any longer.
There's not a 20 in the register.
And one of my very regulars was like, he was really upset. He said, you cannot fold. Where am I going to go? He was dead serious, like tears in his eyes. Where am I going to go if you fold? Yeah. My guys don't come in here. They're not going to come to my house. This is we need this place. And I remember that afternoon, I'm like, Lord, I remember praying about it. And, and I don't pray as enough as I should. I remember praying about it. I'm like, Lord, I just need to check out. Can you write me, 2 tickets to Paradise, Eddie Money? Can you do it for me? That kind of thing. And I had one of my customers come in battling cancer. And I don't want to talk about it too long because I'll cry. Come in and just needed me. I'm not I don't pray with people like I will, but I'm very intimidated because I've grown up in the church where these pastors get up and say these fancy words, or they'll hellfire and brimstone you. You know what I mean? So I'm like really intimidated, but I do have a prayer life, and it goes a little something like this: Hey, Lord, it's me again. I'm so sorry I screwed up, or damn it, Lord, can you, that's my prayer life, right? And my friend comes in, and I won't say her name because she's known to the community, and she passed from cancer a couple years ago, and she came in to say her goodbyes.
Wow.
And I lost it.
Heavy. It was heavy.
Lost it.
It was a heavy backroom
You know
conversation.
what I mean? And she said, I just need you to pray with me. And I'm like, oh dear God. Just thinking about it, I'm like sweating now. Like, you can see the redness, And I'm like, I'm just gonna speak from my heart. And I prayed with her, and she said, I love you. I just want you to know, I know where I'm going. I'm just worried about my kids, And it crushed me. But at the same time, it was one of those things where, like, when she left, I told David, I said, okay, if God ever spoke, he spoke so clear to me today through her. And some people would think, well, that's weird. But he did, because it was she let me know in that conversation that, because I met her through Stomping Grounds. So I didn't know her for long. She came in for a white mocha shake and never left, and she'd come in every week, and we'd talk life and all these wonderful things. And so, she just said, I just want you to know how much you mean to me. You took the time out when nobody would, and this place is amazing. And I thought, okay, Lord, I hear you loud and clear.
You're not selling the business.
You're not selling the business.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I have those moments about every 2 or 3 months. You figure running a charity, I don't make a lot doing this, sometimes nothing.
Oh, I'm sure.
For 8 years. And, you get those people that beat you down or want to say negative things to you. And you're just like, if they only understood how much of my life I've put into this.
Right.
But there's so many ornery people that they don't care. But the way I handle that kind of thing, just like I did that girl the other day, would you be willing to give them another try? Because what you said is wrong.
That's good.
And you can argue back and forth with people, but you're not going to change some people's thoughts. At that point, it's just easy to hit the delete button and move on. But yeah, you gotta. I'm very confrontational, though. It's very hard for me to not speak up and say something. And sometimes I have to say, all right, I got to step away for a couple days. Because people can get under your skin so bad. But I think that's their goal in life, is to try and drive other people crazy, because nobody cares about your crappy opinion. I don't know why people in the world think that people care about their crappy opinion. Or I'll send Steve or Joni or one of them or Kat a message and say, hey, can you delete that post? And that works just as well too. The guys that run those pages. But yeah, people are nasty, and you just have to pick your battles. But I think as a society, we need to start convincing people, you need to think about things differently and think before you act. My dad and mom told me millions of times, you better think before you open your mouth. But most people don't.
Yeah. And I think there is a thing with social media where people know if they put out an ugly post, they're going to get a lot of attention on that. So I think that's why they're brash. But
because they know it's not going to get them punched in the mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like that. I think there's a consistency with you, Mike, that people do know in our community that you're lifting up the small business owners and encouraging people to do that. And so I think more of us just need to continue to share the good stories.
Yeah.
Share the good stories. I remember working for Paul Melton when I was 16, and I was a bag boy and got the carts out of the parking lot. And I remember seeing this little computer printout on like the cooler, and it said, if someone has a good experience, they're going to tell 3 people. If they have a bad experience, they're going to tell 8. And so it's like, man, you know, the good, people just expect good, but we need to champion the good. You know what I mean? Because, you know, people are going to, if they have bad experience, they're going to say something ugly, but when it's something good and routine, like, hey, I went to South End and had a great, you know, barbecue sandwich and the waitress was phenomenal. Share that experience. Share what is great about that place so people know there's great places to go in our community. And, you know, in a time when the workforce is being stretched, and especially in the small businesses, where, you know, it's common now where you pull up at a small business and they're randomly closed. We're closed because of work shortage, you know, or whatever it is.
We're going to start opening it. Yeah, we're going to start opening at 4 now because we don't have anybody here.
Right, and that's a whole other conversation. So whenever someone who's, you know, when there are 4 employees down, the 3 that are already working there, when they do a great job and they're hustling, man, go out there and tell everybody about it, because then they're going to feel like $1 million. They're going to go back to work, you know, tip them well, and then everyone starts sharing the good stories. It's going to hopefully go viral, so to speak, in our community. Everybody's sharing the good.
Well, and there's been so many posts of people that are like, oh, we need this in the South End, we need this, and then they finally come out here and then they do nothing but bash them.
Yeah, and they don't have the money to survive.
Stay out here, yeah, or why would any other business want to come out here if you're not going to support them?
Right.
It's very frustrating.
Well, it's a pretty incredible story. Hopefully we can change things and keep positive, because, you know, I'd love to tell your story one day. It'd be inspirational of what you're wanting to talk about, because I think if we can nonchalantly get the good things out there that happen in the community, maybe eventually people stop turning off the negative stuff. So you can open anything in today's world on your phone, and it's negative. And it just takes 1 or 2 positive stories to get people moving. But everybody focuses on the negative. So anyway, maybe we can make these stories interesting where people want to sit and listen to them. So the last question I got is, how in the world did you come up with the name Stomping Grounds? And I read the article and I know how, but I'm originally thinking you're stomping the grounds of the coffee to make your coffee, but that's not it, is it?
Well, I mean, so Stomping Grounds.
It sounds like it, but it's not.
Stomping Grounds is, I mean, it's our stomping grounds.
It's our stomping grounds. It's
your hometown. Your home turf.
it is.
Yeah.
Julie came up with the name.
Yeah.
She came up with the name. We were kind of going around names, so I remember
The pun just came. You know, somebody had said something to me about the pun with the grounds. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go.
It's funny.
Well,
it had a coffee pun, and she didn't even get that.
Yeah.
She was like,
that's what it
so
was, too.
Yeah, I did too.
But it really, that just kind of came with it. So I remember we were sitting, and I'm going to hijack this story because I'm going to tell it really good. So we were sitting like, what kind of name describes us being local and we're here? And I had this cheesy name, and I thought it sounded pretty good.
Do you remember what it was?
Oh my gosh.
It always sounds good until somebody else laughs at you.
It was bad. It was bad. It sounded like we should have opened this out in the eastern part of the state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just sounded very country, you know. And
What was it?
Country.
What was it? It was like
country.
I know country's good, but anyway, she was looking up stuff, and then she said, she blurted out, Stomping Grounds, and I'm like, okay.
Did
she
I make
goes,
that face?
Yeah, you made the face.
Or No Shoes Kentucky Coffee Shop.
right. And she said, this is our stomping grounds. This is like, if we're talking about pulling the community together, this is the community stomping grounds where you run around, where you grew up. People stay on Dixie. People, you know, there's people I know that grew up out here and they don't go anywhere. They just stay out in the South End,
Right.
you know? And so it was Julie and I stomping grounds as young people when she lived in Valley Village, moved over into our neighborhood. We met. She moved on my street. It's where we grew up together. We fell in love.
You grew up in Prairie Village?
It's our story. No, I grew up over in Villana.
Okay.
And so right behind Meyer.
Yeah.
You know, and she moved over there, you know, when she was in high school. And it's a trip. So it's really kind of our story and the community story. I think it just turned out perfect.
Yeah.
When we were opening Stomping Grounds, people were like, you know, some of our friends in business and stuff were like, I don't know if you want to go out there. They're not, you know, Valley's probably not going to support a mom and pop shop. They had one on, it was similar where they had like, I think some kids with disabilities maybe that on West Pages. Oh, what was that called?
It was the
I can't
coffee
remember.
table.
But anyway, I think they had some kids that were having.
It was an organization that helped folks with developmental disabilities, and I enjoyed going there. And I think a lot of people, just maybe weren't comfortable. It was like a day center for folks, and they did operate. You could go in there and get coffee. And
so it wasn't an official coffee shop, but it was a center for these kids, and they would sell some coffee.
It was awesome.
And so anyway, they were like, they're not going to support it. You need to take it over, to the Fern Creek area because they don't have a mom and pop, and now it's like super trendy to shop small. And we just knew
this is where we had to be. We knew we were being led.
And we were just like, people will support us. They will.
The South End has so much money. And we've learned that with Queen of Hearts raffles and things like that. They're much more giving than a lot of the other parts of.
They really are, and people
walk up with a
know
pocket
that.
full of cash, and and some of the stuff we've done, we feel like, are we asking too much? And they come in with pockets and pockets full of cash, and all of them's got a gun on them, which makes me feel good actually. But I mean, it's.
I'm giving this money to Shirley's Way. Try to take it.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, with our big raffle, it got pretty high, and we were a little
I'm
nervous.
sure.
And my thought was, everybody in Valley Station carries a gun. We're good.
Yeah.
And you know what? And no one in the right mind was going to I think people believe in the community. Everybody where we live knows about Shirley's Way.
Yeah.
I really feel like that.
Well, thank you.
And like we saw the Queen of Hearts, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, it's over here at South End. It's moving around. Like everyone knows that. And so I think with people coming with water cash to play, I think that for them, it's more than, hey, I'm going to try to parlay my little bit of money into a big winning.
Oh, yeah.
They know where the money's going.
Yeah.
And so you all have, carved your way for all these years, and people, you have credibility. And so people see that credibility and they say, hey, I'll buy into that. If I'm going to spend my money on a cause and make money, I'd rather do it with Shirley's Way. So I think that's
That's
we
one thing
need
I love
credibility
about
in our
that
community. People
area.
want to see that consistency, you showing up all the time,
So we built street cred. Is that what you're
Got
telling me?
street
You
cred,
built
man.
street cred.
That's
And the
street
thing
cred.
about Valley, I told that reporter, I said, listen, the thing about people in Valley, man, there's a lot of things that get said about Valley. I still get it. I'll never forget when David was doing ministry and one of the girls came in the youth group, and she was not from Valley, and she had referred as this other girl had a Valley Station haircut, and it wasn't good. And I was like, I remember thinking, like, who do you think you are, little girl? But one thing about Valley, you can say what you want to say, but there are really loyal people in Valley Station, Kentucky. Really loyal
it's like
people.
we'll talk about all the bad stuff going on in
Because
the
we live there,
community.
we can say it, yeah.
It's like it's really like family, but it's like, hey, I'm not going to let
get
you make fun of my family.
defensive.
I will
Oh, no.
talk about them. They get on my nerves.
Right.
But I'm not going to let you talk about them.
Yep.
There's
Right.
no way. You know what I mean? Like there's certain places or areas where it's like, hey, I'm from Valley, and I know it's crazy sometimes.
I'm
but
proud of that. It doesn't bother me at all. I've
those are my
always been
people.
proud of that.
Those are my people.
Years ago, I spoke at Pastor Pat's Life Church one time, and I'm up on stage, and I hadn't talked in front of people much, and I feel like I'm getting a little better at it, but I started talking about the first event we did, and it was a glow in the dark scramble, and when we first went off at night, all these rednecks from Valley Station had started hitting their glow in the dark balls, and I feel like I could say that
could
because
say that.
I live there.
Because you're
Right.
one
But
of
if
them.
somebody
Right.
else would have said
Right.
that, they'd have ran them off the
Oh, for
stage.
sure.
Man,
But I
if
did
someone's
walk
seen
off
a
the
video,
stage,
if someone's seen a video from someone from Shelbyville Road talking
saying
about the rednecks in Valley Station,
They'd be in
it'd been
trouble,
like
yeah.
they'd be in trouble. All these people would have been slamming them. It's like, well, Mike's got a point.
But then I'm standing there after I got off stage, and I thought, man, did I just screw myself over by saying that in front of a bunch of rednecks? But I thought,
They're probably clapping,
in
and they're
that
like,
crowd.
yeah, it's good.
So it was hilarious. Well, it's a great story. I tell you, I'd love to have y'all back one day and just we want to talk about stories. People want to hear the stories because everybody thinks I'm the only one struggling. I'm the only one that doesn't want to get out of bed this morning because I'm really having a bad day. You're not alone. I do it all the time, and anxiety gets me, and I'm not a panic attack kind of person, but sometimes I'll go and speak in front of a crowd and my heart's racing and I'm having a hard time breathing, but I just slowly start taking slow breaths and try to get my shit together, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but you're not alone, and that's the kind of message that we need to get out, that, okay, you can have these problems, but if you realize you're not the only one dealing with it, it makes it a little easier, I think, sometimes. So
There's strength in numbers.
it really is.
There is.
So going back to being able to talk about things and the things you do good, a lot of times I blame it on other people. I'll say, well, Kellye did this week. Look at her. She's freaking awesome. Because I don't want people to, and she does a lot of good stuff. But But that way people don't look at it as you're being braggadocious, you know, and or just talk about a story you saw today. It could have been you, but say, man, I was in line today and somebody bought somebody's breakfast behind me for $20. Isn't that freaking awesome? And start to get the positive mojo going. And it may have been me, but I'm not going to tell people that. But, you know, when we started Shirley's Way, it was tough to talk about, hey, we paid somebody's LG&E bill this month. But was very lucky most people didn't attack me because I think they know I'd come back at them. People will attack the person that they think they can get away with.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think people, and this is what I think I alluded to yesterday, I think people can sniff out when something is genuine and when something is fake. You know, and you if you see the consistency,
Maybe
like,
so, yeah.
like with you all, I mean,
Some
this
people-
is a thing that you all been doing for a long time. So people see that, and that's why they support that, because they know that you all are doing it. And so if someone is never like that, then all of a sudden they throw in their thing is like, I hope I'm wrong, but the timing of that post was funny. You know what I mean? And so sometimes I wonder about that too.
Isn't it weird how we've all focused our lives around social media and how important it is? You know,
I hate that our kids are growing up like that because they know nothing about what it is to get on a bicycle and just go out. And your parents, if they don't, you know, they can't text you and ask where you are. We've had the embarrassing thing where mom goes out on the back porch and screams, you know, screams your name for you to
wrong
come
with that
home.
lady?
Right? And it's like, you know, you should have been home because now your friends are making fun of you because your mommy's hollering for you.
Well, you see things happen in the world, and sad as it is, the very first thing people say is, I need to make a social media post about this. No, you don't. But if you don't, everybody starts forming their own opinions and wanting to interject and elaborate on the story. And next thing, a bicycle wreck turns into a 4-car pileup on Dixie Highway, and 6 people got killed. I mean, that's how things get blown out of proportion.
Right.
So, but anyway,
It's always people who know nothing.
Yeah,
about the
but
situation.
our life is so focused on, I got to go make a post about that because I don't know.
Yeah.
So
And for those who are trying to do the right thing, it makes it hard.
It
Because
does.
you start, you know, I don't want to look like that person that always does that. Like I literally did not, I should be pumping up like, you know, Shirley's Way, what's going on. But I purposely have not been telling people that I'm on this podcast because I don't want to look like, I'm rubbing elbows with
I'll do it
Mike
for
and
you.
Kelly. You know what I mean? Like in
We'll do it for you.
a humble brag kind of way, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't want to allow myself to get into this mode like I'm important.
Yeah.
People want to talk to me because I'm not that good, you know, and
we're not either.
Yeah,
People ask for
right.
Kelly's autograph all the time, but I you know, people just kick me to the side. But you know, I just feel like we're building a good following, and that's our goal. Build a good following where if something does come up, we can rally the troops and people will stand behind us, and that's really kind of been the whole goal all along. You know, we started a foundation of somebody that nobody knew my mom. But when her funeral came, you couldn't get another person in the parking lot. It was the most
wow.
amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And my mom was a quiet, humble human being. But yeah, I just feel like we're using her name to build a following of people that
amazing.
would really do anything that you ask them to. And that's kind of what we've developed. So, but anyway.
And that's important.
it's an amazing story in of
It
itself.
really
Yeah.
is. I'd like to hear that someday because I mean, I've heard snippets. I don't know all of your story, but I've heard snippets.
Yeah, we'll tell that one. We'll you know, it's all about
That'd be a good
storytelling. So,
It'd be a good one.
well, thanks so much for sharing your
Absolutely.
story. Again, would love to have you back in here and really kind of delve into what you were talking about because people got to realize they're not alone. I'm an open book. I'll tell anybody anything. And Kelly, she kind of does the same now. So we bring stuff up what would get you normally in trouble at HR in any business, and we kind of talk about it. So, but anyway, thanks so much. Great
Absolutely.
story,
Thanks for
and
having
we'll
us.
get you back here soon.
Thanks
Be
for
good.
having us.
Kelly, wrap it up. How can people help us out? We got a drawing tonight, right?
We do. What's tonight? Wednesday?
I don't know. I
Well,
can't
this
see my
airs on
watch.
Monday, so technically it's Queen of Hearts
Yeah,
night
that's true.
on Monday. No, Monday, queenofheartslive.org. You can buy your tickets online up until 5 p.m. That pot total is going to be over $40,000 is my guess by the upcoming
You took my
Monday.
number. That's what I was going to say.
No, I win. queenofheartslive.org. Wednesday, jokerswildlive.org. That pot total is probably going to be over 8,000. Buy those
That
tickets
grew quick.
online. It did. We started at 5
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
You paying that first 5?
No, you are. jokerswildlive.org. Buy those online until 4 p.m. And then Friday is wheelofcashlive.org. That's still all virtual. And then obviously go to our website, shirleysway.org, sign up to become a $10 monthly donor. We would love to have you.
Yeah, we've given away a lot of money to the local community, and we could really use your support. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.